Good morning, everyone. We are in Mishna Meiser Sheni, Parakeh, Chapter 5, Mishnah Yud Gimel, Mishnah 13. I'd like to dedicate today's learning, memory of my mother, Mrs. Shalamis Rabinowitz, Shalamis Bas Rebecca Eliezer. And this week's learning has been sponsored by Richard Goldstein, in memory of his father, Mr. Joseph Goldstein, Zalman ben Yosef, who to commemorate his yahrzeit. Parakeh Gimel. The Mishnayos have been breaking down the vidui that is said by Beer, giving us an explanation to what each phrase means and is referring to. So we're now up to the final phrase that reads, "Hashkivim mein kachcha min hashamayim, gaze down from your holy place from the heavens, uvarech es amcha es Yisrael, bless your nation Israel, veis v'adama shenasata lanu, and the land you have given us, kashenishpat alav v'yisenu, as you swore to our forefathers, eretz zavatz chalav v'dvash, a land flowing with milk and honey." So now the Mishnah is going to break down that pasuk, that verse. Hashkif b'mein kachcha min hashamayim. We say to Hashem, it's a prayer. Gaze down from your holy dwelling place from heaven. It's a prayer. It's a prayer. It's a request to Him. Gaze down. So the fact that we make this request after mentioning the fact that we've done everything that we're supposed to do, the meaning now is, the Mishnah continues, Asinu mashakazarta oleinu, we have done what you decreed upon us, Av ato aseh mashiv tachtanu, and now you do what you have promised us. We have done our part, we have done what you've told us to do, and now we ask you to do what you've told to us. What is that? Hashkip man kachcha min hashamayim v'reiches amcha Yisrael. We say, gaze down from your holy dwelling from heaven and bless your nation Israel. What is that referring to? What kind of blessing? B'banim b'banis, with sons and daughters. And then it says, V'eis v'adam shenasata lanu, bless the land that you have given us. What does that mean? Betal umatar ubavladois behema. That's talking about dew, rain, and the animals giving birth. That is what it means. Bless your nation and bless the land. The animals go under the blessings of the land because they nurture themselves off of the land. And all of these blessings that we're mentioning, children, rain, animals being able to produce, all these are mentioned in the Torah about these blessings about children, and these things that we're mentioning here are mentioned in the Torah, in Psukim in the Torah, not over here, in other places in the Torah. As you have sworn to our forefathers, you promised our forefathers a land flowing in milk and honey, that you should give taste into the fruits. That means that when we say that you promise us land flowing in milk and honey, it means that you have promised that you're going to make the fruits of the land, you're going to make them sweet, you're going to make them rich, you're going to make them nutritious. That is what is included in this part when we say to Hashem, look down from your holy dwelling place and bless your nation, the land, as you promise our forefathers' land flowing in milk and honey. These are referring to the blessings of children, rain, the animals producing, and the fruits of the land being sweet, rich, and nutritious. We continue with the laws of Lashon Harah, Klal Zayin, Chapter 7, Sif Yud, paragraph 10. So until now, the Chavetz Chaim was talking about the issue of accepting Lashon Harah from someone who you believe, like two people, someone who is Mesiach Lefi Tuai, just not so much coming to tell you the information as much as just talking about it, just generally talking about it. Now we have another situation. V'yesh alav devaram hanikarim. If, let's say, you have evidence. Okay. The person is telling you Lashon Harah about a person, and he has evidence to the fact. That now appears based on evidence that what he's saying is true. Dina hachi. The law is as follows. If, let's say, again, this matter that he is telling you that this other person did something wrong, and he proves it, if you can still give him the benefit of the doubt to say that he didn't realize, he didn't know better, or he's proving you regarding a lack of virtues, or all the other details mentioned before, he proves to you how he used to behave. Evidence not going to help you. Because if the question is about giving him the benefit of the doubt, we're obligated to do so. Being that he's a, so to speak, middle of the road person, he's not a wicked person. We actually have to give him the benefit of the doubt so that in ourselves we don't look down at him. And the same thing, if let's say we're talking about something that is just, it's irrelevant, meaning as we've been mentioning before, it could be true, but it's still Lashon Harah. There's nothing constructive from it. Therefore, the fact that now there's evidence doesn't help you. On the other hand, if let's say now we're talking about he proves to you that he did something wrong, and there is no benefit of the doubt to give him based on the evidence that he's showing, and we're talking about something that if it's true that he did it, he would now be considered a rasha, be considered a wicked person, that you would be able now to not to dislike him. If that's the situation, then it would be permissible. But the Chafetz Chaim adds in a footnote of but we still have to be very, very careful. We really have to work through and investigate and think through, is this evidence real evidence? And to make sure that we fill all the conditions that are necessary for having evidence to be of any kind of benefit or any kind of advantage. The Yetzer Hara is very quick to cause a person to make a mistake. And he shows him all these proofs to say that it's true, that he should believe it. And by doing that, he'll trap the person into the sin of Lashon Hara. Because the Yetzer Hara can make a person think, oh, this is real evidence. Because of that, you're going to accept it, and it really isn't, which means that you sinned. So you have to be very, very careful before you decide that something is real evidence to really think it through, work it through, and see, is it real evidence or not? Because we tend to sometimes assume too quickly that there is evidence to allow it to be believed. Now we continue into paragraph Sif Yud Aleph, paragraph 11. V'dafka imem nikarim mamish. This has to be real evidence. The Hainu meaning shemagiyos le'inyan asipur. They relate directly to the story. And whatever evidence he's proving, he said, whatever evidence there is, you see it yourself. But if let's say they're distant from this, it's somewhat of a proof. Or he didn't see the evidence itself. He heard it from others. Then he has no advantage over anybody else. Basically, it has to be that the evidence that's here has to be evidence that is very directly related to the incident, to the issue at hand, and it's got to be something that you should be able to see. You have to see the evidence, and therefore, without that, the fact that he says that there's some kind of evidence here is not going to help you. Just because you heard it from other people, that doesn't establish it as evidence. Now we had one more paragraph Yud Beis 12. Vida, and no, that filu dvar ma'ikar mamish ina moel rak le'inyan shal yidei zeh yemutar lahamin ba'atzmis lebesh mesaper loy. If let's say everything is fulfilled, you really have evidence. What does the evidence do for you? It allows you to accept it. It allows you to believe what you're being told. Doesn't allow you now to go and tell it to others. It's no worse than seeing something bad about someone that you're now to go in and tell others. And again, as you mentioned many times before, that no matter what kind of evidence there is, it would not allow you to cause him loss or to go ahead and actually physically hurt him. So the whole point here is that if you have the evidence and you see the evidence, you can believe it. But just based on what you see to go tell others, that would be Lashon Harah. That would be speaking Lashon Harah, because if they don't have the evidence, then they're just going to hear it from you. That's Lashon Harah. So the only thing, if we're talking about believing, so then you can believe it, but you can't necessarily pass it on to others. Now, again, we're going to eventually get into discussing more in detail what it means to, we said that there are times you can not accept Lashon Harah for truth, but to take it into consideration. And that could have to do with a person who is sinning. But the point is, though, you can't just go ahead and tell it to someone, as if it's a fact. That you can't do, and he can't take it as a fact, because of the fact that that's considered speaking Lashon Harah to this person, because he doesn't have the evidence, so he can't accept it, and you're just telling him Lashon Harah then. Now, if there's some kind of constructive purpose, then there won't be Lashon Harah. But just to go ahead and say that now that you have the evidence about what the person did, now just go tell others about it, you don't have that doesn't just tell others about it in a way that other people now are just going to accept it as a fact, or to tell it over just as a fact. You're not going to be able to do that, because it only helps for you to be able to believe it, but not to spread it to others. Have a wonderful day.